right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Ask the Expert session where we're going to talk about our multi-cloud strategies and all the new announcements that we had during this exciting moment. So first, I want to explain you how to engage with the different experts that you have in this chat. So please use the chat to ask your question, and we're going to answer those questions by asking the different people that are the expert in those specific technologies. Of course, this session being recorded will ask you to not spam or post inappropriate comments in the chat and adhere to our code of conduct. And you have some example here. You've probably already seen it in previous sessions. First, let's meet the expert. So my name is Sebastian Monendijk. I'm a senior program manager in our security customer experience team, mainly focusing on MCAT. And I will be your host here. And we have other people in this session. Dan, if you can please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dan, and I'm a senior product manager for Microsoft Cloud App Security.
Perfect. Thanks. Hi. So next we have Itamar. If you can also introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Itamar Falcon, and I'm a product manager for Microsoft Cloud App Security as well.
Great. Thanks. Lior.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lior Arviv, and I'm a program manager within the Azure Security Center Customer Experience team.
Thanks. And finally, Tom. I think you're on mute, Tom. We cannot hear you.
So my name is Tom, and I'm a senior program manager in the Azure Security Center and Azure Defender Customer Experience Engineering team.
Cool, thanks. So we have a great expert in this session, so don't hesitate to ask anything regarding our cloud security products, and we'll be happy to help that. So first, let's have a quick look on our approach. And of course, you've probably heard that before, but Microsoft's ideal approach of security for cloud now is to go multi-cloud. So we're not only looking at Microsoft clouds, we're really aiming to protect you across any cloud. And when I say multi-cloud, we don't look at any specific workloads. We really want to protect any type of workloads across those platforms, provide control on the different activities across the cloud application, and help you develop secure application. And this is regardless of the type of workload, including IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS. We also want to start with a quick explanation of this slide. So you've probably seen that we're rebranding the different security product that we have with Microsoft 365 Defender, which used to be MTP, and the idea is to protect all the Microsoft 365 workloads. We also announced Azure Defender, which is more dedicated to the Azure part, and both solutions are part of Microsoft Defender or XDR. On top of this, we also have our cloud SIEM, Azure Sentinel, that allows you to integrate with other clouds or any other partner that we would have with those solutions. So we want to start this with maybe a few potential questions that you might have, and probably after hearing all those exciting announcements, you're wondering what's that Azure Defender thing, or what are the new announcements that we had for Azure Security Center and Microsoft Cloud App Security. Maybe Tom, could you give a short introduction on Azure Defender and explain us what it is?
Sure. So basically, one question we heard during the last few days, and we heard it quite often, is if this is just a new name or if there are new capabilities as well. So first of all, we have rebranded all of the advanced threat protection parts that have integrated to Azure Security Center back in the days under one name, which now is Azure Defender, making it quite easy now for customers to focus on the topics that matter the most for them. But alongside this rebranding, we've changed also the AEC main dashboard. So you have a whole new experience now when you start looking at Azure Security Center today. And so you can focus on the two main pillars in the product, one of which is Cloud Security Posture Management, which stays in Azure Security Center, and one of which is the Cloud Workload Protection Platform capability, which now is Azure Defender. And also Azure Defender comes with new capabilities. Earlier this year, for example, we announced the acquisition of CyberX, which is a software tool helping you to protect industrial IoT and building systems. And CyberX is now integrated into Azure Defender for IoT. In addition to that, Azure Defender for SQL now supports SQL Anywhere in preview, which means leveraging Azure Arc, that you can protect your SQL server no matter if it is a SQL database or a virtual machine running in Azure, or if it is running anywhere. So yes, we have, as you mentioned before, we have two main products now under the Microsoft Defender XDR solution, which is M365 Defender for your workloads, your endpoints, and so on. And we have the Azure Defender on the other side, giving you all these the protection scenarios for your multi-cloud and hybrid cloud workloads.
Thanks a lot for that, Tom. That's great to hear that. Lior, could you share with us maybe some of the latest announcements that we had for Azure Security Center?
Yes, sure. So basically, Ignite is a big day and a big event for Security Center because we released new capabilities alongside with a new look for Security Center we created from scratch. So few critical capabilities that we have just added to Security Center was regarding secure score. So some customers would like to adjust the score or to reflect the real situation in the environment. And in some scenarios, you would like to exempt resources from a particular recommendation. If you have a specific resource which is targeted unhealthy, but you do know that it's not applicable, I would like to exempt it from the recommendation, you can now create the exemptions. It can be on a resource level, and you can actually, it can be for a specific time, and then you can get it back to the recommendation. So that's one part. And the second part is to exempt or filter a specific security findings. So let's assume that you have the recommendation for the vulnerability assessment. You can decide to disable one of the findings if it's not applicable or for another specific reason. So that's regarding the secure score. And also the secure score is available in Azure Resource Graph, which lots of customers ask us about. The next thing is regarding the multi-cloud support. We can now leverage Azure Arc, so you can onboard AWS machine EC2 instances or even VMs on GCP, so you can actually see those VMs as resource in ARM. And also we pull the recommendation for both vendors, so we can see it all in Security Center, and also see the recommendation that we are getting from the cloud vendors, including to apply custom policies, create custom recommendations, and other capability that Security Center provides. And the last part, or the major part, is the workload protection for Kubernetes. So we have just released 13 new recommendations for Kubernetes, which is based on Azure policy. So you can actually deploy the extension and get more capabilities to protect your containers in the cloud. So that's in general.
That's great. Thanks for explaining all those great announcements. Maybe on the MCAS side, Itamar, could you explain us what are the new capabilities that we have now in MCAS, and especially its integration in Microsoft 365 Defender?
Yes, of course. So MCAS is part of Microsoft 365 Defender, which means that we integrate with three main pillars that MTP and Defender offers. The first one is advanced hunting, where we're gonna ingest all of the cloud activities that you can see in MCAS to advanced hunting. The second thing is incidents, that all of MCAS alerts would be correlated together and with other workloads as part of the incident new capabilities. And the third thing is Auto IR, which along the way we're going to publish new capabilities around that area as well, which allows you to automatically remediate and respond MCAS alerts and investigation.
That's great to hear that. Thanks. Something that I'm pretty sure some of our attendees are wondering what's happening is, after all, there's an announcement and the different X0 capabilities that we have. It's about the Azure Sentinel integration. Could maybe one of you explain on the Azure Defender side, and then on the Microsoft 365 Defender side, what's the benefit of integrating Azure's those capabilities with Azure Sentinel? Maybe Tom? Yeah.
Yes, I can take that. So from the basically what the SIEM solution Azure Sentinel wants to be is the central place for everything related to alerts coming into and for events and threats and everything we know. So what we can do is and basically this is not really new, but what you can do is you can integrate the threat protection part of Azure Security Center into Azure Sentinel to get all the alerts and the incidents that we are creating on the ASC side, put them to Azure Sentinel, and then correlate these events with other events that might be coming from M365 Defender, for example. So let me give you an example. You might have a brute force attack against Azure AD joint virtual machine. And so suddenly someone gets access to the machine and starts hovering over from one machine to the other machine. This is something that we from the ASC point of view can give you the information about. But then on the M365 side of the house, there you get the information about the user and the user account that was compromised, or maybe the apps that have been compromised, and so on and so forth. And if we bring that all into context in Azure Sentinel, then you get a very, very good view about all these different alert types and all of the different entities, the resources that have been attacked and that have been involved in such a big alert event, basically.
Thanks a lot for those explanations. And something also very important that we've heard during this event is that we want to support multi-cloud. Maybe Lior, you can talk a bit more about those enhancements and what we mean by supporting multi-cloud for the different workloads that we want to protect.
Yes, so basically the new enhancement is based on the fact that we now recognize Azure Arc like a regular Azure VM that we have in place. So let's assume I would like to protect on-prem machines or machines that located in GCP and AWS. We can actually onboard them as an Arc machine. For AWS, we can leverage automatic onboarding based on the SSM agent. So basically, new EC2 instances can be onboarded automatically to Arc. And once we recognize them, we push the log analytics agent and other relevant agents if we need. And new capabilities that we are also going to offer soon is the VA, the integrated vulnerability assessment, also for the multi-cloud. So not having just VA for Azure VMs, also for the VMs that we pull from AWS and GCP. Currently for GCP, you should use a script to do the automatic onboard. And also both from a GCP Security Command Center and also from AWS Security Hub, we pull the recommendations. So alongside with all the recommendations that we do provide as part of ASC and the other capabilities, you will see also on the same recommendation list matching the security controls that you can see now, also the recommendation that both GCP and AWS provides. And of course, it will also impact the score because we map them into the built-in security controls. And then you can also decide to enable advanced capabilities, the Azure Defender capabilities, such as adaptive application controls for on-prem and those machines stored on other clouds as well. And of course, we'll see more and more features, support for Azure VMs and for the multi-cloud as well.
That's great, thanks. So here we're talking about the different cloud platforms, and maybe Tamar, you can talk about the strategy that we have for MCAT and the any cloud or any third-party application or non-Microsoft application support.
Yes, of course. So in Microsoft, we have an approach that basically we want to protect any cloud and any app. Our approach is divided into two. The first thing is our app connectors, that for top applications, we have dedicated connectors that allow us to fetch information and protect in more broader way. But of course, we're not be able to have a dedicated connection to any specific app. And for that, we have our proxy offering that allows us to basically protect more brighter approach and allows more granular security.
That's great. That's great. Thanks a lot for that. So I'm looking quickly at the chat, and I don't see that we have too many questions so far. I would like to know if maybe Tom or Lior, you could explain a bit what would be your best practices when a customer wants to start implementing ASC in their environment, and what should be the start for them? Is it easy? Because that's also something that we're frequently for customer. Where should I start?
So the main idea, and we have Azure Security Center in the free tier, which today is Azure Security Center, and we have Azure Defender, which used to be the Azure Security Center standard tier for different workloads. A good way to start is to start with the free tier of Azure Security Center and starting to work on your cloud security posture management, meaning taking a look at your secure score, which is the main KPI to show you how secure your environment actually is, and then to work on the most important recommendations and security controls that you're going to have there. Basically, once you have started to roll out Azure Security Center in your environment, you will pretty soon see all these recommendations. And for example, the most important recommendation that we are having is within the security control of enable MFA, giving you a very good starting point. And this also is the security recommendation and the security control with the highest secure score impact. So once you have remediated that, you're on a very good way to go, because making sure that your user accounts are protected also will protect the whole environment, because you need to have this user account to get access to your Azure resource and your Azure environment. The next step then is to make sure that your virtual machines, for example, are not accessible from the open internet. You don't want to have someone brute forcing SSH or the RDP access to the virtual machine. So it always makes sense to focus on the most impactful security controls and recommendations, and then working from up to down just to make sure that your security posture is improved. And then there's one thing, and those of you who know me know how I think about governance, and for those that do not know me, governance is essential. So without governance, you won't succeed on your security posture management journey. That said, once you start to remediate your security controls and your secure score will increase, you also need to make sure that once you deploy new resources, they are deployed secure by default. That means that, for example, if you have remediated all the open all the open network ports that we are having on the virtual machines, you also want to make sure that once there is a new virtual machine deployed, that it is automatically protected. And you can do that by, for example, making sure that your deployment templates also adhere to the same recommendations, or you leverage one of the new features, giving you the chance to enforce the usage of these recommendations once new resources are deployed in your Azure environment.
Thanks for that. That's a great answer. So on the MCAT side, Itamar, maybe you could explain us a bit how we can fine-tune the behavior on MCAT, because something that we hear a lot from customer is about some detection that they consider as false positive, like for example, impossible travel. Why do I have so many alerts? What about those users that are generating all that noise? Are there specific ways to fine-tune this and improve the logic of the product?
Yes, of course. So basically, we have in MCAS anomaly detections that are based on machine learning and other capabilities that allow us to basically learn the environment of the specific customer, and then auto-tune basically the alert logic to meet the exact preferences of the customer. But of course, we don't have a full coverage, and we'll have mistakes. But in order to be better at it, we offer our customers the capability to basically provide us with more information about the environment. And in that way, we'll basically have better understanding of what's going on and how we can better reduce the noise that we have in each alert. The main offering that I encourage you to check it out It's basically providing information about IPs that you see in your environment, risky IPs, corporate IPs, VPNs. Every information that you have on an IP could really help us tune the alerts and dismiss a lot of the false positives that we see automatically. And I encourage you actually to look at our new alert user guide that provides a lot of information about how to tune specific alerts and how to investigate specific alerts, a little bit about the logic itself to really try to understand what's going on behind the scenes. And I think this user guide is really helpful for customers to really understand what the main purpose of the alert and how they can investigate and do a better job in maintaining and protecting their environment.
Thanks for this, Itamar. That sounds great. What about our customer that would then add some automation on top of that after they've been able to identify based on the investigation guide that you just talked about? They understand that there are some false positives that can occur in the environment, or there are some specific actions that they would like to repetitively apply to their user to automatically remediate that. Do you have some recommendation or best practices, or is there any way to perform such operation with MCAS?
So basically in MCAS, we offer integration into Flow, which I think they also rebranded their name, right, Sebastian?
Yes, that's correct. It's called now Power Automate.
Power Automate, sorry for that. So basically, Power Automate allows you to basically decide what to do next when you get an alert. And we have a lot of community discussions and a lot of options to look online to see different approaches and different capabilities around that area. Sebastian, I know that you have a few blog posts that you want to share soon. And then I encourage everyone to be as part of our community. We have a lot of offering around that and different approaches that could really fit to your specific needs.
Yes, that's right, exactly. We have a few blog posts that are planned for the coming weeks to provide specific use case for that. It was not an instant question. But talking about automation, maybe Tom, you could talk about automation capabilities or specific use case that you can think about for Azure Security Center.
Yes, well, there basically are a lot. First of all, we have the integration with workflow automation, which basically means that you can leverage Logic App playbooks directly when a new recommendation pops up, or basically when a recommendation changes, or when there is a new threat detected in your environment. But that's not all. So what we are having is we have an open source GitHub community where we from the CXE, but also the ILDC engineering team around Azure Security Center and Azure Defender, and others from inside and outside Microsoft can share their automation artifacts that in any kind rely to Azure Security Center. So for example, we have automation artifacts there that are based on Azure policy. So for example, Lior has created some nice artifacts to remediation at scale. So you're able to deploy the Qualys VA agent out to your whole environment, if you will. Or we have PowerShell scripts in there because we not only have the integration to Logic App, but we also have APIs that you can get information from or pull information to. So yeah, basically you have all the capabilities that Azure offers in Azure Security Center for automating around it. You can use Azure Resource Graph to get the information about your resources, your secure score, about threat alerts, about recommendations, assessments, whatever you will. So yeah, go to github.com/azure/azure-security-center, and you will find a whole lot of automation artifacts in there that, as I said, that have been published already, but also we want to give people the opportunity to share their automation artifacts there as well. So we want to be inclusive. We want to have everything around automation for Azure Security Center and Azure Defender to be published there. So if there's someone out there who thinks he or she has a great idea to to automate around ASC, just feel free to send us a pull request, and we're going to merge it into the repository.
That's great. Thanks for that, Tom. And Itamar, we have Ricardo asking in the chat if it's possible to share the link of the community that you mentioned. And maybe same question for Tom and Lior, if you could share the Azure Security Center communities and maybe also the link to the investigation guides and the GitHub repositories that you were talking about, that will be great. So people have it also directly in the chat. And Itamar, we also have another question. We have some anonymous guest that's asking how much time you would recommend to fine-tune MCAS. They're asking, for example, one full-time employee per 10,000 user. I'm not sure that it's per an employee point of view, but maybe more when you start, and what would be your ideal process to continuously optimize your environment based on the thing that you explained in the previous question?
Yes, it's a very good question. So basically, when you interact with MCAS, I think along the way you will find problems in different alerts. Sebastian mentioned impossible travel. Impossible travel is a very tricky alert. It's very, very valuable, and I encourage everyone to turn it on and see exactly what we're trying to do there. But basically, in a nutshell, what we're trying to do is we're trying to discover impossible travel of a user. So for example, we see an activity that comes from a country A, and then a minute later, an activity that comes from a country B. And of course, it's not impossible to travel in that specific time. And unfortunately, although we are constantly improving the logic, there is a lot of false negatives. And to answer the question, basically, I would say that the customers really need to understand the logic and to see which alerts are more problematic than others. And once they identify their noisy alerts, it's very recommended to look at the policy itself. For example, impossible travel is a specific alert that you can tune based on your needs. And you have different severities and different approaches, a lot of noise with more robust protection and lower sensitivity level. And I would say in general, just look at the specific alert, and based on the alert, decide how to manage your enrichment. But of course, as much enrichment as you can provide us, the better it is, of course.
Thanks for that, Itamar. And we have also another great question where we have an anonymous guest asking if you would recommend integrating MCAS with Defender for the endpoint or proxy, or both. I will take this one, and I would definitely recommend as an answer to enable this integration, because you'll benefit right away without any difficult configuration of the Shadow IT discovery for your endpoint, directly using the information that we will receive in MCAS from Defender ATP. And in addition to that, in the future, you will be able to see that we're collecting in Cloud App Security some events coming from for our endpoint DLP. So that's going to provide you also support for a few specific use cases. That's something that will come in the future in a blog post on the MCAS site. So please just join our community, and you will be able to have all the latest news on that specific topic. I'm quickly checking if we have another question that we have in the chat here. I don't see anyone. So we're almost at the end of the session. So we'll now go back to the presentation and just explain you the potential next steps. So please try to monitor your Azure Secure Score and act on the top 5 recommendation today. As Lior and Tom explained you, that's definitely something that you want to do, that you can do using Azure Security Center. To enable the Azure Defender to protect your hybrid workloads, including VM, data storage, and container, and use Cloud App Security to discover your cloud application by using this integration with Microsoft Defender ATP, blocking unsanctioned use and control access to sensitive data. To learn more, I will highlight here the few sessions that you have where we're talking about what's new in Azure Security Center and in Cloud App Security, and how to detect, prioritize, and remediate vulnerabilities and risk across your organization with attack simulation, training, and Microsoft Secure Score. Thanks a lot for your time for today, and I hope we can see you next time. Thanks a lot.